You're listening to the Soju Sessions, episode 46 on the SojuTalk Nation podcast feed. I'm your host, Crispy, also known as Crispy Wonton or simply just Anton. And today's guest is Luke Daniels from the SojuTalk Nation, a Gochu Gang member. Surprisingly, I found out that he is a Filipino brother of mine. So shout out to all my Filipinos, KME and Mina on the server as well. We had a great conversation. A lot of nice cultural touch points that him and I connected over. And, we got into some pretty deep K-pop talk. He is quite an insightful human being. LukeDaniels had a wealth of knowledge and personal experiences that he brought into the world of K-pop and just how he found SojuTalk. And it was incredibly illuminating to hear his entire backstory and just how it all came together. And, it was a pleasure having him on the show. Coming up, my chat with Luke Daniels on the Soju Sessions. Joining Soju Sessions this week, someone who was extremely active during the countdown days, the counting channel days, causing himself some anxiety. And then as myself, coming into that channel, palm sweating, not really knowing what to do, but he kind of loves it. So, we welcome him. We're glad to have him. We have the one and only Luke Daniels. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks a lot. I actually forgot to ask earlier, do you prefer Anton or Crispy?
Any, up to you. I think everyone knows me as Crispy, but I just go by the full name sometimes.
All right, I think I will go with Crispy for this one, so all your lovely listeners won't get confused.
You were too kind, and everyone is very lovely. You're correct. Shout out to you, Nina. I think the bit right now is that I have a large crush on Nina, so we're going to roll with that. Nina, you are so attractive. Hello, hi. I hope it didn't make you uncomfortable just now. All right, but yes. Hello, sir. It's great to have you. We at the Soju Sessions are trying to expand and get everyone, get all the Gochu Gang on the show. Because, for me, it's always been about learning about other people, getting to know their stories with K-pop. So, Luke Daniels, sir, what is your K-pop origin story? How did you find K-pop and where did it all begin?
That's a good question. I listened a little bit to your last Soju Sessions, I believe, and you had an OG fan, one of the older guys on there, and we could contrast that a little bit. That I've actually only really been into K-pop for like the last 2 years, a little bit right before the pandemic started. It's I guess a little background is, even though I'm Asian North American, being Filipino and living in Canada, the circles I ran in high school and elementary, they didn't really do a lot of Asian centric stuff. It was mostly sports, so I didn't know anything about K-pop, K-dramas, or anything about that at all until a lot later. I would say like at the end of high school, kind of when like Blackpink and BTS was just starting to gain traction in the West. Even then, I never really explored it. I was playing on like basketball and volleyball teams, and everyone was like listening to rap and stuff. So that's kind of like what I was into. And then one day I was watching a Twitch stream. I can't remember the name of the channel I was watching, but one of their sub alerts popped up, and a little tiny video played on their screen, and it was the Likey Twice video. And it was the oddest thing because there was a piece that came on, and it was like a shot of, I think it was Nayeon on like a scooter going down a hill, and I was like, oh, I know that hill, like I've been there. And I realized after some Googling, they shot that whole video in Vancouver, and that was like the first thing I can remember in my head of like, oh, this is the first time I interacted with K-pop directly. But that's kind of all it kind of just like left there. I was like, oh, that's cool. This group came to Vancouver. That was interesting. Uh, then the next bit would have been I've got two brothers, and we like to go out every weekend in my car, and we'll go get food and whatnot. And we always just play music, and we'll be playing the regular stuff, Kendrick Lamar, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And one day, my older brother he grabs the phone. He's like, oh, I'm gonna play some stuff, and he plays what Red Velvet song was it? I think it was Red Flavor that he played. And I was like, oh, this kind of bops. Like, I had no idea what they were saying. Don't speak a lick of Korean. And I was like, yo, this kind of bops. And then he plays Boom Baya by Blackpink. I was like, oh, this goes hard. I was like, okay. Um, and then that kind of started me getting more curious into the actual music side of things, right? Not just, not it just being there as a talking point. So I kind of started listening to a little Blackpink and a little bit of Red Velvet here on the side on my way to and from work. And I think the tipping point when I like fully deep dived into K-pop was I listened to Not Shy by ITZY. And I was like, yo, I watched the choreo, and then I saw I listened to the song, and I was like, this slaps. The choreo was like was yeah, it was just interesting to watch. Seeing them being able to do all that stuff while singing is wild. And then obviously from there you go to Wannabe, and I was like, shoulder dance, Ryujin, sold, I'm in. And then that's pretty much it. That's kind of how I got into K-pop myself.
Well, you had an incredible journey. I'd say a lot of it's traced back to very similar starting points for a lot of Asian American and Asian North American kids, right? I would say it's something very similar to me, where I grew up listening to primarily hip hop and R&B. Not having any clue that there was a world of Asian people doing music and entertainment, right? And then the internet is a thing, so Twitch. I definitely spent a lot of time on Twitch in the 2010s. Pokimane was the one I think you were alluding to. It was her notification for Likey. It's very popular. I think it's one of those like internet cult things that has just permeated throughout internet history, that she had that alert for the longest time, that brought a lot of people into K-pop, surprisingly. And then also kind of the curiosity that you talked about. I wanted to double back and ask you about your Asian and North American identity, and kind of how that was formed with the circles that you grew up with. And then what did that mean, kind of exploring Asian culture, even though it's not Filipino culture, it's Asian adjacent, in K-pop, and kind of how that expanded your sense of self, kind of being an Asian North American person.
Oh, that's a really good talking point, I guess. It was really weird. So growing up, I had lived in the Philippines until I was about 11, and then we had moved to Canada with my family. And at that point, it was kind of when I was with Filipino friends, it was very like very Filipino. You would talk about your shared history. You talk about the lumpia, the adobo, the different types of food, the stuff you used to do back home. But then when you were with like your North American friends, it was very North American centric. It wasn't so much like you were ashamed of it, but it was more like it was just easier to just be more similar to them, right? And I guess the time when it kind of mixed in more was when I started playing basketball. As you know, basketball is really big in Filipino circles, and I would say 80% of my basketball team was probably Filipino in high school. And but obviously our coach was white. We had white players, so that kind of forced the mixing of those two groups, and it was a little nice, right? You had the guys on my team were really nice. They were super interested in all the stuff that me and the other Filipinos would be talking about, mostly the food, and they would always be like, "Oh, I gotta try this, gotta try that." And then eventually we gave one of them lumpia at one time, and he was in. He was like, "Yo, like I need this in my life. Where do I buy this? How do I get this?" Um, and that was really it for my Asian heritage in terms of just the Filipino side. And I do have to say, I really do think it was K-pop and K drama specifically that opened up to the more Asian culture outside of that. Because then you started to realize like when you live in Canada, or especially since we're so adjacent to the States, a lot of the stuff we see and we hear is all American centric, right? The American artists, the American TV shows, the American art, all that stuff, and then you don't realize that there's actually an entire other industry on the other side of the world, and you start listening to, obviously you've got K-pop, you've got the C-pop, J-pop and stuff, but it goes past that too. Like I like classical music at the same time, and you start listening to like Japanese composers, and then you're like, oh, like it's the same type of music, but they're drawing from different like backgrounds and different undertones, and you can definitely hear it in the music the whole time, and it's actually been really nice because it's just it's the same, it's the thing that you like, but with a different twist now, so you get to enjoy more of the thing you like.
Yeah, no, there is a cultural perspective that is hard to describe when you have someone of a specific culture representing a different art form, right? I think the thing you said about classical music being played by a Japanese composer is one of those unique experiences where, me personally, I can't put words to it, but there is something elegant and beautiful and different when you have a Japanese composer versus a European composer playing the same song. And but we do find common ground, right? I wanted to ask you, what similarities did you see between your own culture, Filipino culture, and what was represented for Korean people and Korean culture, whether that was in K-pop and kind of this like wholesome nature of what was being shown, or in Korean dramas where you had family units, very collectivist type of societies, and what were the similarities and familiarities points that you felt you were drawn to between those types of stories?
I guess if we start with similarities between the culture, dance is a huge thing in both cultures. There's the meme slash stereotype thing, like if you're Filipino, you do one of three things: you either dance, you either sing, or you play a musical instrument, and it's likely the guitar, right? Or all three if you're really lucky. I can kind of play the guitar, two left feet, and I'm tone deaf, so I'm kind of there. But yeah, so that's one thing. Growing up, I had a lot of friends who did dance, and you'd see all these dance shows and these dance competitions, and that that definitely carries over into K-pop, and even in like K-pop communities outside of Korea, right? It's international at this point for sure. A lot of it is dance focused. I know two or three people in my personal friend circles here who their main draw to K-pop isn't the idols, it isn't the music, it's the dance, it's the choreography. They really like that it's both accessible, but also, you can find both. You can find dances that are, you can pick up and learn in a day, and you can find way more harder choreography if you want. And it's like it transcends everything, right? I guess that's the biggest wow, I can't speak. That's the biggest thing I was able to find that was similar, was the dance between the Filipino and the K-pop culture.
Was there anything
Yeah.
within the family unit from what was represented in K dramas and kind of just seeing how the collectivist side of things were that you were drawn to? They were like, hey, that's very similar to how I grew up with my family. Was there anything like that kind of resonated with you?
I think the first thing that I noticed that I didn't, like, you think it's kind of small and you don't really notice it, is that the kids live with their parents, like way past like when they're older, whether it's by choice or by circumstance. Like you watch most North American stuff, right? And they live in separate cities halfway across the country from each other. But you watch a lot of K-pop, and it's a common trope, right? Where the mom is there, and then all of a sudden the guy shows up, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. But they all live under the same roof, and that was really nice to see, because that's kind of the same situation that I have going on, where I live with my family, even though I own part of the home. Like I still live with them, and is really close knit, right? Like I talk to some of my friends and I tell them like, oh yeah, like I consider my two brothers some of my like two of my best friends, and like we almost never fight. And they're like, how do you not argue with your sibling? I was like, I don't know, like you've lived with them the longest, you know them the most, you know where not to, what buttons not to press, and where to draw the lines better than anyone else, right? So yeah, in terms of like the family unit, that's the thing that resonated with me the most, is like how they interact daily with their family, and they don't like treat them like strangers, or like kind of like, they're always together kind of a deal.
Yeah, no, I just went to a cousin's wedding in LA over the weekend. I saw all my family there. A lot of cousins, obviously, Filipino family. And I was just talking to one of my cousins that is a little bit younger than me by a lot. And his family had built a back house to their property. So it's like a full house, but they don't really have to pay for it. It's just like another addition to the home. And what you said like really stood out to me in the sense that it's something so familiar with Filipino families, right? Where as a family unit, you are kind of there for each other, and it's okay. It's understood that if you decide to stay in your family for however many years to live with them, it's completely acceptable. It's actually probably preferred in a lot of ways, where everyone's saving money and everyone's still together, and everyone takes care of each other. I think that's what's really important about kind of seeing that perspective of it. And you talking about it has made me kind of reflect in the moment, like how grateful I am to have my family being the way it is as well. Because I think there is that unconditional love that is just around the corner, that's just very present all the time. Sometimes I'm not too aware of it, and I probably should be better about it. But yeah, no, it is a good feeling to have kind of that support system, and I do appreciate that you brought that up, because it's got me feeling positive, happy vibes all of a sudden. So thank you so much, Luke.
Yeah, you just you need to go cut up some fruit and give it to one of your family members. The Asian way of showing love.
Yes, you don't use words. You give them fruit, or you just buy food. You go to the market and you bring home a lechon, and it's like, what's this for? Oh, just because I love you, but I'm not going to say
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's switch to some K-pop talk. All right, let's jump into Soju Talk. Let's do it. So, Soju Talk has grown so much over the pandemic, over the past few years. It's really been a place for people to find comfort during a time where everyone's been so separated, everyone feels so lonely. How did you find Soju Talk and the Discord server? And what were those first experiences between the show and just being around other people who love K-pop, just like yourself?
I think when I first got into K-pop and I was doing my deep dive into all the new stuff, it was a whole new world to me. I was just super excited, and I was just gobbling up all the content that I could find. The YouTube shows, like I would just like I got like I was big fan of Twice, big fan of ITZY. You'd go and like Running Man, blah blah blah, find them and all their stuff, and just laugh and laugh. Eventually, you run out of things to find on the internet. That's a funny thing to say, but you do end up running out of stuff. And where I work I work at an office, and I could not go through my workday if I don't have my headphones in. I need podcasts or music or just something playing to keep me focused. And most of the time I'm listening to like science or tech podcasts. But then one day I was like, oh, like I just wondered, like, do K-pop podcasts exist? Like I didn't even know. I was like, are these a thing? And I'm pretty sure I just typed in like Google podcast. I was like K-pop podcast, and the Soju Talk one amongst others was there. And I'm not gonna lie, the Soju Talk label, like the teal mint green, I really like that color, and I was like, I'm gonna listen to this one. So I just clicked it, and I can't even remember what the very first episode was. I think they were talking about, it was either a Blackpink or a G Idol comeback, and I really liked how they were kind of analytical, but also kind of just trolly. I remember the Harold's hot take segment, and I was like, that's pretty funny. So I kind of just like that was the first one I found. I liked it better than most of the other ones I ended up trying to listen to. So I just went to the back catalog, 40 episodes, and I just started blitzing episodes while I was at work. Just while I was like doing what I was doing, just having episodes play in the background, and then eventually you catch up to the end, and you're like, oh well, now I'm listening to this every week.
So you went back and listened to the OG ones where they were talking bubbles and they had 4 hosts and they were just talking about stuff. And
Yeah, I think
yeah.
I got as far back as to when their mics were not the greatest, and then I was like, we can start here.
Nice. Warren, Doug, Anita, if you listen to this, if you're hearing this, yeah, you have people going back to your old episodes all the time. Just letting you know. Just letting you know those exist. No, I like you, I wanted to find something to kind of expand my depth and understanding of K-pop, right? I listen to podcasts all the time as well. I have for God, I'm gonna sound super old. Over a decade now, since a little before 2010, when podcasts didn't really have like platforms. I think Apple iTunes was the first place I listened to podcasts. I still didn't really understand them, but it felt like a radio show. So kind of this idea of conversations and formatting for K-pop was something I just wanted, right? And I think like you, I couldn't find anything I immediately attached to right away. And it just so happened that probably the color. So shout out to Warren and his design skills for making a great design for the SojuTalk label. And I think like you said, the way they talked about things, where there was a little bit of analysis, a little bit of trolliness, but definitely a warmth between them, a relationship between the 3 of them, was the reason why I felt like I was brought in to the conversation. And I'm very grateful that they've been able to do it for so long and bring in so many different people and kind of change and iterate along the way, but still kind of keeping the same core to how they talk about K-pop. So let's move on to the Discord. How'd you find it? And what was it like kind of being part of the Discord throughout a very interesting period in history, where 2019, everything's pretty normal. 2020, March, the world shuts down, and the only place people can go to really find human connection is the internet. What was that like being on the server during that time? And how did that help you with your K-pop exploration?
Well, I think I found the Discord like most people are from our public PSA in the middle of every episode where they talk about the Discord, and I was like, "Oh, I'm on Discord. Let's go look at this thing." And obviously you go in and there's all these channels, the different memes, fashion, anime, and then you're seeing all these things and you realize like, oh, this isn't just about K-pop. Like these guys talk about a whole boatload of other stuff, and there's this, like you said, you're looking for this content and there's so much extra content there, right? You've got like the industry news, and the thing that I found the most interesting was like Doug and Warren are super, like, especially back then during like the height of the pandemic, they were just super active. So it's interesting that you'd be listening to these people talk all the time, and then you'd see their names pop up and they were actually interacting, which made it seem like a lot. Like you said, it kind of brings yourself into the conversation because you just listen to the podcast and you listen to other people talk about their experiences. But when you move into the Discord, you can then insert your own story, right? So that's kind of how I found the Discord. And in terms of what it was like during that time, like I said, I was mostly active in the counting Discord, because I don't know, it was just fun. It's like a little game that I get to play while I'm at work or while I'm like just not really doing anything. But I was definitely a big time lurker. I'd be on like all the channels, just reading everyone's little stories here or there. I remember I can't remember the name, but some like in one of the channels, if I scroll around, it's probably still here. I forget the exact channel, but someone was posting a whole bunch of photography stuff. There was a whole bunch of photography stuff, and at that time I was just trying to get into photography too, so I was just relating to everything he was posting, the pictures that this guy was posting. I was like, oh yeah, that's sick, So I wasn't very active in terms of talking. I'd go in here or there with a couple of sentences, but the biggest thing was you just go in here and you find a lot of stuff that you can relate to, and just reading everybody else's what they were up to, just because you didn't get to see any of your friends most of the time, right? You were just stuck at home and you're like, oh, okay, like it's that little bit of like other people stuff, other people other than what you're dealing with and what you're doing. It just gives you a little break from all of that.
Yeah, so shout out to Shinboy, Matt, and KME. They are the photography people throughout the server. I think they used to post things in the hobbies channel, but that got archived, and I think it's all just now in the general channel. But still, amazing resources and amazing work that they do. Kind of posting things like that. It's really interesting that you mentioned that you are a lurker, but you have kind of found a different way to use other people's conversations as analog for socializing, in a sense that you're not super involved or engaged, but it gives you a sense of connectivity with the outside world. And I think that's super important, that we are in a space where we generally feel pretty safe about how we want to express ourselves. I say generally because I apologize if you have seen any of my ramblings, if you've seen any of my spamming of various emotes during certain releases or photos that I've posted, because I think that's all I'll say about that. If you don't know, you go check it out. And for me, I like to just have a really good time and keep things light and fun, and it gives me a bit of reassurance that as little as I do with kind of the words I use, it still comes off with an overall net positive into other people's experiences, and also the variety of experiences that you're reading throughout the server. How did you change, or how have you changed with K-pop and kind of your own personal growth as a fan over the past 2 years?
I think as a fan with K-pop over the last 2 years, if we're being completely honest, 2.5 years ago, there was definitely still that kind of stigma that was like, oh, you're not Korean, like why do you like K-pop, kind of a deal, right? And like I think it's something most people who aren't Korean and are not from Korea gets that kind of sentiment mostly from the general public. But now 2 years, 2.5 years after finding the Discord, after finding other people in my my actual physical area who are also into K-pop, I'm just you kind of just, am I allowed to swear? Are you swearing allowed on
Go
this
for
podcast?
it. Yeah.
You kind of just I eventually just go, you know what? Fuck it. I like K-pop because I like K-pop. And you just, and if it, like now if someone I'll talk about it with my friends in public or whatever, and I'll be loud about it, or even at work, in the work environment, that is definitely like the best way to describe most of my coworkers are like redneck hillbilly, big into the guns and cars scene. And then I'll be at work. I've got one Korean coworker, and I'll talk to I take all the little news tidbits from the podcast, and I was like, hey, we're talking about this and that. He's like, how do you know all this? And I was like, bro, podcast. That's where I get all my news from.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess the biggest change is just like, just more open about it at this point. Like, yeah, like, it's just a thing. It's just another genre of music, basically.
Yeah, no, it's one of those self-identity journeys that everyone goes through, right? Where, me personally, I've had a lot of moments in my life where I've been insecure about kind of expressing myself, or just like the things that I've been into. But then with K-pop, uniquely, it's coincided with this amazing exposure to other markets, the West specifically, right? Where it has now become fairly household, fairly well known, whether that's BTS or Blackpink, whether that's Twice, who recently just toured and sold out every single freaking arena that I couldn't get tickets to. Still salty about that. Hi, Koro, you didn't go either. And kind of this idea that it's now so visible that people do want to see other cultures represented, whether that's in music, whether that's Parasite winning the Oscars, whether that's Chloe Zhao winning for Best Director for Nomadland last year, and also Best Picture. We are starting to see a really great shift in people being more coherent and cognizant about what they want to see. whether that's Asian people on screen or whether that's just other cultures, not the typical norm of what we've seen over the past however many decades. Entertainment has been dominated by the West, right? And I think it's cool that you're able to say, fuck it, this is what I like. Do you like it? And sometimes you're surprised and people are like, yeah, I know what BTS is. I know them. Those 7 handsome men who just did a tour and were in the movies. Or, it's something that they may have heard in passing and are now more curious about it. So I think overall, it's just a really cool time to be a fan of different genres, and specifically things coming out of Asia. For Asian folks like you and me, I think it's something that I didn't grow up with, and I'm really happy that we're kind of able to perpetuate that positivity now moving forward. All right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You had something else? Go for it.
Yeah, it's like you said, I do feel very lucky in that this specific time and the specific like atmosphere around Asian media products and all that stuff is just it's riding up and up right now. It doesn't matter at this point really what it is, whether it's Korean, whether it's Japanese, Chinese, Filipino. Like people are more curious. Like you said, they've been more curious than ever. So like it's a lot more accessible now too from someone who doesn't live there anymore, who's moved out here. You like some stuff that you'd never even know to look for. You'll just be like, oh, it's a thing you see on the side of the street, or you get YouTube ads for it all of a sudden.
Right. And it's one of those where we joke about the algorithm here and there, but I think it is also still very helpful that I can watch YouTube for hours and hours, and then all of a sudden all my ads are in Korean. I think that's kind of cool. Kind of weird, but kind of cool. We've got some music this week in SojuTalk. There's one group that I'm going to surprise everyone with that I'm going to cover this week, and it's Stray Kids. Yes, everyone, I'm covering a boy band. Stray Kids have come back with a new mini album, ODDINARY, and we're going to talk about it. So the title track is Maniac with a new music video. Kind of cool concept, kind of things are a little bit warped in kind of the visual presentation and the storytelling. The crew had some thoughts. LukeDaniels, I want to hear from you. What did you think about Stray Kids, ODDINARY, and the title track, Maniac?
Well, for Maniac, I like it. I'm a big fan of Maniac. It went on my playlist pretty much immediately. I can't exactly tell you why. It's just like the overall vibe of the song is something that I just enjoyed. Like I don't know about you, but I have no clue unless it's completely in English what any of these people are saying. No idea.
I know like 3 or 4 phrases that I repeat all the time. That's about it. Nina can teach us. Nina and Reach, they are our teachers. They are synonyms. Hello, hi.
Yeah, it's like, but that honestly, it's kind of something that I do enjoy about all the K-pop music is that I like that I don't understand it. Right, that way you don't have you don't get you don't have to worry about the message behind anything or if the lyrics are cringy or whatever. So you're literally just listening to the melodies, the voices, and everything. And I think Maniac specifically, they did a pretty good job in not sounding. I don't know how I've in previous Stray Kids tracks, and I did listen to some before starting this. They do this thing fairly often, and they do it in other in other tracks in the album is where they do that auto tune when some of the guys are singing, and I just really don't like how it sounds. But they did it pretty sparingly in Maniac, in which I liked, and I agree with what Warren said in the episode where Felix is the identity, and he's always got he's not my favorite part, but he's always the most memorable part, and they really did well, and they wasn't overdone. And yes, Doug, if you are listening, I did try to say Maniac in the deepest voice possible. It was nowhere close.
I will not be attempting that right now.
Oh, nope. That's for the private time. That is not going on air. But yeah, the overall the song was really good. In terms of the music video, on honestly, I prefer performance videos over the music video because like I said earlier, I really enjoy the dance aspect, and I do think that's one department where Stray Kids has really always knocked it out of the park. Their choreo, the energy that they bring, has always been really good. But for the music video specifically, there were parts that I really enjoyed, but there were two or three things that just like were really nitpicky that I just didn't like. Being one, for whatever reason, the drill scene where he drills a screen and the glass breaks looked like high school level editing production, and it kind of just throws you out when you're watching it. You're like, oh, that was a little weird. And the other one is I don't know, I can't remember who it is. It's either Lino or IN when the screen turns white and they do like the string cutting scene. When he goes to cut the string, the string timing of being cut and when he moves his finger aren't in sync. And I just thought, I was like, oh, how did someone miss them not being in sync? Which is like, it's supposed to be like this cool build up moment, and he does the string cutting thing, and you're like, oh, well, that didn't work out.
Yeah, I think I well, let me kind of frame it this way. So JYP Sans Twice, I think Twice right now is kind of in a different sphere of kind of the creative direction that they're doing. Between Twice and Mix and Stray Kids, it feels like they have a similar art direction style that they're trying to accomplish, where it's a little bit fantastical, it's a little bit pop art, it's a little bit exaggeration of different worlds and fantasy stuff. And Mix and this song and Maniac specifically, you can kind of tell like, oh, they're doing a lot of really different world things, not necessarily world building, but you have the different dimensions in the Mix song. And then with this, it has like very Inception, like the world's flipped, world is upside down, which also has a very kind of similar fantastical feel to it. And I don't, well, let me just talk about Maniac specifically. I don't hate it. I don't even dislike it. I think it's pretty cool, but I think a lot is happening. Like maybe a little too much, because I think the drill bit part definitely pulls you like out of it a little bit more. It's like, oh, like, is this for us? Is this specifically just for the audience? And then, like you said, it is kind of a digital art student quality. So it's like, okay. And then the string cuts, now that you mention it, yes, I do remember the mistiming, but I think for me, it was a little too, I don't even know how to put it. Like the graphics felt a little like too clip arty, or it's like, oh, this is kind of, it's here. But those are my only like gripes with the concept in general. I think it does match really well with the song and the theme of it. The crew talked about it a bit, where it is about Maniac and going crazy. They are incorporating a lot of different warping feelings about what it means to kind of be a maniac. And I think those aspects are pretty cool, matching the song and the lyrics, right? I think the screwdriver plus kind of the screw in the lyrics in the chorus was a nice match. And then I went in to see what Anita was talking about with the choreo. Yes, definitely they do incorporate a lot of physical movement that matches a lot of the lyrics. So I think overall, it's a really cool, fairly ambitious creative direction. But I think for me, it's just a lot. Also, because I'm not like a super big Stray Kids fan. So for me, I'm trying to absorb all the different parts of it, whether it's the song, whether it's the individual members singing, in addition to the stimulation. So I'm just like, oh, there's a lot to keep track of. But overall, I think they executed it pretty well relative to perhaps another JYP group that came out last month. That's all I'll say about that.
I also didn't like the other JYP group that came out last month initially, but kind of like Doug, I think it kind of slaps now.
It's a grower, isn't it? My God, we have all turned.
If you can just ignore the first like 10 seconds of the song, it's not that bad, honestly.
You gotta ignore like a lot. Well, okay, so I can kind of compare it a little bit with Maniac in that there is some elements of the singing and the vocal processing of OO that you really have to just like be a little turning your brain off to it, because I think if you turn your brain off to it, the sound overall sounds really good. With Maniac, I think there are parts of the vocal processing that they mentioned in the show that actually worked for me, specifically the chorus. So I know that they had some qualms with the Busta Rhymes Eminem rapping in the back of Felix kind of doing his vocal thing. I actually liked a lot the fact that I think there's like 4 or 5 members in that section in the chorus specifically that are layered on top of each other. And I thought that was pretty cool. And you can really hear it in headphones, where you can really hear it in headphones, but it doesn't take anything away if you're just kind of listening to the song casually, right? It still kind of works and flows together really well. And I think that adds to the theme, kind of the motif of being a maniac and kind of being hectic, and kind of being in a flipped, warped world. So yeah, I think that was my favorite part of the song was the chorus. Shout out to Doug for also mentioning that, and Anita for again her choreography expertise as the main dancer of the crew. All right, any closing thoughts you have on Maniac, sir?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. I also agree. I liked the little ad libs that they threw in to the chorus. I think if they didn't throw those in and it was literally just Felix repeating Maniac and over again, it would be a little dry. You get a little bored of it. So I agree with you there. I like the little ad libs that they threw in. And yeah, no, I agree with you mostly. Overall thoughts, I enjoy the song mostly. I can appreciate the music video. It's probably not one that I'm going to be going back to, but the performance videos are also very, very good.
Yeah. Shout out to those performance videos. Stray Kids definitely known for their presentation. So if the music video was a lot for you, try checking out just one of those. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll just ask you live. Are they doing a studio chum? Do you know? Or have there been any teasers?
They did a studio chum, I think B original or whatever it was. And it was decent. I have an issue with some of Studio Chum's stuff.
Spicy.
In
Let's
that,
go.
yeah, we're gonna make enemies today. I have an issue with some of Studio Chum stuff where I think they just do too much with the camera angles and the camera work. There are a lot of times where, and they, to their credit, they do release it after the fact, where it's just a full group focus. Just let the camera sit there and let the group and their choreo do what they do, right? And I guess for groups that are stronger in dance, like your ITZYs or your Stray Kids, the extra camera zooms and pans and everything, I think it actually takes away from the effect of the choreo that was made for them rather than adding stuff.
No, that is completely valid. I don't have a counter because I can't really think of it right now. All I will say is if there is a studio tune for the Stray Kids song for Maniac, I will definitely be watching it, and I hope that they also give us the straight camera, like the fixed camera perspective, because I think for me what I like most about Studio Chum are the sets. It's a minimalist set, extremely minimalist, but I think they also do a nice job using lighting in a way that you don't typically see with the stage. And I think that's what's kind of cool with kind of the shadowing and how they incorporate movement. So yeah, no, all really insightful stuff with your critique about Studio Chum, because I think it's something that I will look out for kind of moving forward with their videos. All right, so we do have Ordinary by Stray Kids, the entire mini album. LukeDaniels, we're not going to do a super, well, maybe. Well, let me see where you're at with it. How did you feel about the overall album? Well, what are your thoughts? How did it flow? And what are your just initial takeaways from this release?
In terms of the overall album, I think it's okay. It's not the greatest put together album I've ever heard or listened to. I think Venom, really good opener. They do that cool, that that sound they have. The best way I can describe it is, have you ever seen those like wooden frogs that you play the back on and they make like a croaking noise? It's that, Plus, if you take an amped guitar and you run the pick parallel to or metal strings, I think that's how they probably sampled that sound, and it's really cool. I don't think I've really heard it anywhere else, and it does a really good job of like getting you interested in, and then they go in with Maniac and you like it or you don't like it, and then I think Charmer is just the worst Maniac. I think I like Maniac more, and I think the reason is that, like I said before, Charmer, they use that auto tune on the vocal sections more than they do in Maniac, and that's just not something I'm too interested in. And then I think from there the album kind of just falls off into, I don't like listening to it at that point felt more like work, because Freeze is kind of, I think they were trying to build off of that ad lib thing that they do in Maniac, but I think they cranked the dial to 12 in Freeze, and they needed to crank it way back down. And the rest of the album is meh.
Yeah, let's start with Venom. So I think that sound effect that you described like quite amazingly, by the way. We should clip that and trademark it as if you want a description of how Stray Kids has sampled their characteristic, unique sound. That was an amazing explanation. The only word that I could use, and it's not because it is grating, but it sounds like it's a grating type of rhythm to the effect, but it's incredibly grimy, and it has like a very like dirty, like hip hop, like dirty rap like sound to it. But the song itself is a pop song, so it has that really cool contrast. The other sound that I really appreciated from that song from Venom is that there is a synth section that very easily could have gone disco or retro, but one, thank God it didn't, because it's Stray Kids, and two, they smoothed it out really well back into like the rap section, which I was kind of amazed kind of listening to it. Yes, everyone, I took time to listen to a boy group album. Jesus, and also last note on that, Jesus Christ, Han, you are good at rapping. You're a good rap. Wow, Han, you were good. Man, they mentioned on the show, I took notice in Venom specifically. He has sections in the verse, the second half of the second verse and the third verse. Man, that kid's good at rapping. And you did touch on Charmer a little bit. The snake charmer motif, it's kind of cute. The flute's kind of nice, but I think ultimately they just did want to build off of Maniac, right? It's a 1-2 punch, perhaps maybe too similar of songs, and really not reaching that peak that Maniac got. But I think in an album it kind of makes sense to kind of flow back and forth. And then let's talk about Freeze. So this song, I'm really conflicted with the song, because I understand big picture. The sound is dated. It's dubstep from 2000. It's Skrillex and Nero. If you know Nero, it's actually far more closer to Nero than it is Skrillex. But I kind of love it because it's so like ridiculous. It's like, you are really using this, aren't you? It is a 12. I would argue it's a 20 out of 10, and it's out of control. It's kind of the out of control Stray Kids that they've kind of been doing over the past 2 years. And I think for a lot of people, it's you either love that or you don't. And I think for Freeze, it's one of those where for some reason, I find myself really liking that song. But I do very much agree that it is a lot. It is a 20. It does probably need to be cranked down to a modest 7 to really like get an impact, right? But let's talk about these two back-to-back songs that are very much switch ups. So we have track number 5, Lonely Street, which is an edgy emo rock switch up. And then we have Waiting for Us, Bangchan, Lino, Sungmin, and Ayan, kind of the unit song. Did I get that right? I'm just reading it from the Spotify. I hope I got that right. Okay, cool.
I think that's right.
Stays, please don't kill me. And that's a very ballad track, almost Day 6 type of vibe of a song. How do you feel like these two songs work in this album? I mean, I think you did say it was kind of meh, but as a really drastic switch up from the first 4 songs of being incredibly hype and now we're going into kind of not a characteristic Stray Kids sound, but something that's kind of trendy right now with emo ballads and then even a ballad song.
Between the two, I like Waiting for Us more. I feel like the other song, I don't know, like I don't really know, but they kept saying it felt like a fan song, kind of. The message, because that song does use a lot more English. The only reason why I know anything about the message, it kind of felt like they were going for like, oh, like we might be alone, separate, but we're all still strays, kind of thing. And I think if you're stray and you're big into Stray Kids, that's gonna hit it for you. But in terms of just the actual sound, I found it to be a very dated, bland emo sound, like we've been hearing quite a bit. I can't pinpoint the band it reminds me of. It reminds me of like a 2000s era boy band, like a I can't remember the name, but that's what it reminded me
Like
of.
a Green Day or a Yellow Card.
That's it. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Green Day. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Something
and I was
corporate.
like,
yeah, guys, something corporate. Check it out. Postal service. I got it all. I was in that phase. I'm old. I'm 90.
No, you hit it right on the head. Like, that's exactly what it reminded me of. And I don't really know how it wasn't bad. I don't think any of the songs on here were outright bad. None of them are like, oh, absolutely change this if they come on the Spotify shuffle. But it also, nothing about it stood out to me specifically. I enjoyed Waiting for Us more because, like you said, Stray Kids isn't really known, or at least I don't know Stray Kids for doing ballad type songs. And I think they did a better job here. I think the vocals were better. They hit a better range. The only thing is, as I'm listening to it, the only thing I can think of this just sounds like an OST for a drama. Like if Bangchan is letting it out, Sungmin is just belting, and I was like, I can see the scene where the dude is looking out a window and it's raining and it's sad on the bus.
I visualized a different scene. I had the sunset on the beach, looking longingly if the person that you love will ever come back. I have that. That is what I wrote. No, I completely agree with you with Waiting for Us. I think it's a really cool song, right? Well, I think musically they perform it really well. It's just knowing, I'm not a very big Stray Kids fan, so I only know them for hype music. So when they did this, I was like, oh, this is really different. But they do it really well, so I'm conflicted. I don't really know where I stand with this. But then it pulled all these different memories of where else have I heard this type of music before, and 100% OST song, which not a bad thing, but it's not something typical of even other artists, right? Like you wouldn't typically find like an OST type sounding song on an album. You would have a different style of ballad, right? This, it was just like, oh, this is evokes something very specific out of me. So, yeah, no, I echo everything you kind of said there. But again, I think alternative rock is a very popular trend right now. A lot of different takes on it, but also it's something that it has existed for so long that really, like, how many takes can you make of it? Aside from just being characterized through your group, right? And I think ultimately they did it well, but it didn't add to like the hype of what this album to me was supposed to be. Yeah, but the ending song, track number 7, Muddy Water. My God, it's the rap line. Changbin, Hyunjin, Han, Felix. What did you think? I kind of love the song. It's kind of crazy. It's a little chaotic. It has that chaotic sound rhythm. I don't know how to describe it, but you kind of know what it is if you hear it. All kind of rapped together in the song. All of them have rapped on the song, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. But how did you feel about the song?
I feel, like I said, none of the songs are bad. I wouldn't skip the song if it comes on. I might make some enemies here. I think it's my least favorite song on the album, and I think the reason why it's my least favorite song on the album is the whole time the song's going on, I'm kind of just thinking like, yo, can we just let Han rap again? And I'm gonna get so much hate from all the strays that watch it, but like it definitely showcases the difference in ability, specifically between like Han and Felix when it comes to rapping. Like Felix's vocal tone is really really nice, it's really unique, but I think Han's just so much like because the whole song was rap and there was nothing to break up the rap. The whole time I'm just like, kids, just let Han rap.
That, you know, honestly, it's not super spicy. I wouldn't say, me personally, because if you're gonna do a rap line song, there has to be some type of variation in the styles, right? Or at least someone who isn't such a hard carry where they kind of overtake the song and all you want is that one person. I kind of felt similarly. I mean, from Venom all the way through, I kind of just wanted more Han rapping throughout the entire album. Even though the songs were constructed quite well, I do think Muddy Water was a really nice example of, if you're going to do an entire rap song and the best rapper is going to be on there, everyone else either has to be as good or you have to figure out a way to complement each other. And to me, that song, you know, it sounded just fine, but I think you have a very clear focal point of why the song kind of exists the way it does. And no, Han, you know, shout out to Han, yeah, you're killing it. So, no, all great stuff. LukeDaniels, any closing final thoughts on Ordinary and your feelings for Stray Kids?
Final thoughts for Ordinary and Stray Kids. I would say I'm excited for more Stray Kids in the future. I find that they, like you said, the hype bangers that they release, I love it for when I'm in the climbing gym or for when I'm running. They definitely make it on the playlist there. And I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic, and I want them to explore that vocal line more. I think they do have some talent there, and I'm hoping that they get to flex their vocals more with songs like "Waiting for Us."
Yeah, no, the really, you know, really good things to look out for. I would say, for me, no, I'll probably say something similar. I think vocally, there is something left to be explored with Stray Kids, right? I think generally speaking, I'm a very general fan of Stray Kids. I can only really relate their sound to Felix's deep voice, kind of being edgy, hard hitting, and then kind of the rap. But then singing wise, I would like to see kind of more variation. So yeah, you know, good call there, LukeDaniels. All right, so we're moving into our closing thoughts. Our kind of life check-in, seeing how you're doing, LukeDaniels. You know, how's the year gone for you so far, and what are you looking forward to for the remainder of the year?
I guess if we go personal note, the year's been pretty good so far. Everything's, you know, chilling. Looking forward to, with a certain pandemic's restrictions all around the world being eased up, I have finally been able to book some vacations, headed to the UK in May for 2 weeks, so that should be fun. I guess that's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to for this year on like a personal note. And I guess if we run it back to K-pop, I just need Stacy to come back again.
You are just, you get the expensive meal and then you're like, oh, that was a great celebration. Can I go again next weekend? That's what you are right now.
I mean, Crispy, they don't miss. I don't know what to tell you. They just don't miss right now.
And I say all of that saying, can I come with you? Can we have dinner together, sir? Because I 100% want it. I want more. Can they just come back every month with something new? Just kidding. No, I think there's that line, right? Where, not like actual line, but like a physical line of how much do you want of an artist versus do you hope that their quality remains every time they come back? And I think right now I am with you. I freaking the Stacy album right behind me. I love them. They're my favorite group right now, musically, character wise. I want more, But I think patience is a virtue. And if we do wait it out just a little bit longer, maybe another 3 or 4 months, 5 months, we could get another song that, like you said, does not miss. So, but I want it all just into my veins, please. Man. Speaking of other girl groups that I adore and love, how are you feeling about Oh My Girl? They're coming back in a week. Is that something you're into?
My Oh My Girl experience has I have to find the name of the song. I had it on repeat nonstop. What was it?
Was it nonstop?
No, was it? Maybe did I make the greatest pun of all time?
I think
without
you kind of
knowing?
did.
I have to find out now. Give me 1 second.
No problem. I'm keeping away from a lot of the teasers for Oh My Girl. I've seen the visual teasers. They look breathtaking. My God. But musically, I try to stay away from all of the clips and teasers just because I want to be surprised. I want something brand new to me that I wasn't expecting. So far, the past 2 years, they had Nonstop and then they had Dun Dun Dance.
That's the one.
Yes, last year. Okay, nice. So Dun Dun Dance. Tell me about it. How'd you feel about that one?
I think that what time, I can't remember when that came out, but the time it came out, I was I think I was hitting the climbing gym like every other day, and just the energy that song brought, I was like, yeah, I was just feeling it. I was in there. Give me more of that. I'm not too, like, I don't have a long history of listening to Oh My Girl stuff, but definitely Dun Dun Dun's having come out, put them on my radar to check out all the comebacks that are coming up right now.
No, I appreciate that you let me kind of interject my emotions and feelings of anticipation for Oh My Girl, and that you were able to kind of wrap yourself into it as well. Because again, it's Dun Dun Dance. It is such a just really happy song, and I'm glad that people were able to kind of receive it well, even during the time of a lot of retro. And then for you specifically, it kind of helped to give you that extra boost for climbing and running and all the physical activities that you're doing. Sir, you are the athlete of the SojuTalk Nation. I think you have officially taken that role, because we do have a bunch of main dancers. We have the dance line. We have I think Max is part of the rap line with his deep voice, and now you have taken the athletic line. I think that's a thing. Yeah, we're gonna make it a thing.
I will take it. Sports always a big part of my life. Always, I think, will be for the remainder and the of it. Hopefully long. but yeah, I'll take main athlete of the group.
Main athlete. You're the one that they send to Chuseok. Chuseok? I hope I pronounced that correctly. The games. You're the one that we send.
I need those to come back. Those were so much fun to watch.
Those are great. Yeah. And then the pandemic happened, and it's like, oh, no one gets to go anymore.
Yeah. No, they did those esports ones that one time, and that was interesting to watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Last year was esports, and they had like the dog show. That was kind of cool.
I was into the dog show. Any dogs, any pets, I'm good. Let's go anytime, forever.
But the thing is, I couldn't find them, like the videos. Like, it took so long for anyone to post it. And it's just like I was getting these really crappy like copies on YouTube. I was like, I'm just not gonna watch it. It's fine. So it took like months, and then finally I found it, and it's like, okay, well, it's like months later. But yes, the dog show was amazing. The only one I can really remember was Moonbyul. I think she had her dog or dogs. She had a great outfit. Moonbyul. Shout out Delmonic. She's great. Yeah. All right, sir. LukeDaniels, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining the show. Yeah, I learned a lot about you. I felt connected to my Filipino brother. You are fantastic. You're an amazing human being. Yeah, well, let's do this again, man.
I'm definitely down. Thanks for the invite. It's definitely good to be able to, like you said, feel connected on the Filipino brother side. We've always got that connection that definitely is gonna run deep there. And yeah, it's always just good to talk about shared interests and more in depth than I would assume you or I do on a daily basis to like everyone else in our lives.
Yeah, it's really nice to go a little bit deeper and have a one-on-one conversation with someone and really hear their voice, because I think that's always a special thing that's a little bit different than just reading text on a screen, right? Also, shout out to K Music Every Day and Mina, our other Filipino brothers. They are around. All right, let's sign out. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Soju Sessions on the SojuTalk Nation podcast feed. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and continue the conversation on the SojuTalk K-pop podcast Discord. For LukeDaniels, I'm Crispy, and this has been the Soju Sessions.
Honestly, I thought Prequel was better than Gray So Gray, and I thought Rich Kid Anthem way better than Gray So Gray.
Rich Kid Anthem is the best song because Lehigh.
It's so good.
Because I'm also a simp. But yes, oh my god, that song is so good.